The first time I saw the alien warrior, he was bleeding starlight onto the hangar floor, and everyone around him pretended he didn't exist. They stepped over his massive body as alarms screamed and evacuation lights strobed red. Medics hurried past. Officers looked away. Even the diplomats, those who claimed to speak for peace, kept their distance as if neglect itself were policy. I should have walked past him too. That's what the rules said. But rules don't scream when their legs are crushed. And that was only the beginning. The station was called Haven 9, an orbital refuge built by a coalition of 12 species. Neutral ground. Sanctuary. A place where wars supposedly ended at the airlock. I was stationed there as part of the Human Expeditionary Guard, more symbol than soldier. Earth had joined the coalition late, bruised but stubborn, and our job was to prove we belonged. I was Sergeant Elias Rourke, infantry by training, janitor of peace by assignment. The alien warrior lay beneath a collapsed cargo strut, his armor cracked like shattered obsidian. He was taller than any human I'd ever seen, broad-shouldered, four-armed, one of the Karseth. They were legends. Shock troops. The kind of species you unleashed when you wanted a planet to surrender in a single night. And now one of them was broken. No one helped him, because everyone knew the stories. But I noticed something else. He wasn't roaring. He wasn't thrashing. He was holding himself still, mandibles clenched, eyes fixed on the ceiling as if pain were something to be endured in silence. That shouldn't have been possible. What I felt then wasn't fear. It was recognition. "Leave it," Lieutenant Hargreaves snapped as I slowed my pace. Station command marked him as non-priority. Non-priority, I said, staring at the crushed lower half of the alien's body. "He's dying." "He's Karseth," Hargreave replied. "Their kind doesn't get rescued. Coalition law. Article 7. I knew Article 7. Everyone did. Injured Karseth warriors were considered spent weapons, biological assets no longer tactically viable. Recovering them was deemed dangerous, inefficient, and unnecessary. Even allies treated them like broken machines. I looked down at the alien again. One of his eyes shifted toward me, and in that moment something inside me cracked. "What if the law's wrong?" I asked quietly. Hargreaves scoffed. "Then it won't be your problem. Move." But my boots didn't. Because the alien raised one trembling hand, slowly, deliberately, and placed it flat against his chest in a gesture I recognized from old xenology briefings. A request for aid. Everything I thought I knew began to unravel. I knelt beside him, the noise of the hangar fading as if the universe itself were holding its breath. Up close, I could see the fine fractures spiderwebbing through his exoskeletal armor, glowing faintly with bioluminescent blood. "Can you understand me?" I asked. His mandibles parted slightly. "Human soldier," he said, his voice low and resonant, distorted by pain. "You should not be here." "Yeah," I said. "I hear that a lot." I reached for my emergency medkit. Alarms flared instantly. "Rourke!" Hargreaves shouted. "Stand down." "That's an order." I didn't answer, because the alien whispered something that froze my spine. "They will let me die," he said. "They always do." That was the moment I made my choice. And none of us were prepared for the consequences. Getting him out from under the wreckage took everything I had. I rigged a field lift, ignored the shouting, and felt my shoulder tear as the weight shifted. The alien never screamed. Not once. When the strut finally rose, his legs were revealed, crushed beyond recognition. I swallowed hard. "Name?" I asked, more to keep myself steady than anything else. "Vale Core," he replied. "Blade of the 7th Brood. A warrior's title. Earned in blood." I injected stabilizers, knowing full well human medicine wasn't designed for Karseth biology. The scanners screamed warnings, but Vale Core's breathing steadied. Security drones hovered closer. "You're violating coalition protocol," Hargreaves said, his voice tight now. "Command is watching." "Then let them," I said. "I'm not leaving him." Vale Core studied me with something like confusion. "Why?" he asked. "Your species fears us." "Yeah," I said. "So did yours once. Until you needed us." That wasn't entirely true, but it was close enough. They locked us in a quarantine bay on the far ring of the station, away from the diplomats and the cameras. Command called it containment. I called it exile. Veilcore lay on the medical platform, massive chest rising and falling. The station's AI struggled to adapt treatment protocols, recalculating endlessly. Your people abandoned you, I said quietly. Yes, he replied. As is correct. That doesn't make sense. It does to us, Veilcore said. A warrior who cannot fight has no purpose. I clenched my fists. So you just stop mattering? He turned his gaze toward me. Do humans not do the same? The question hit harder than any accusation. I thought of veterans back on Earth. Broken bodies. Forgotten faces. No, I said. We try not to. Veilcore considered this. Then your species is flawed, he said. I laughed bitterly. You have no idea. But something shifted between us then. And that terrified me more than his strength ever could. Days passed. Command refused to authorize surgical intervention. Coalition doctors wouldn't touch him. The AI warned me his condition would deteriorate without advanced reconstruction. Technology only the Karseth possessed. I was running out of time. That's when I discovered the truth. Hidden in Veilcore's neural readings was a dormant signal. An encrypted control lattice embedded deep in his spinal column. Not an implant. Elias, you're not just a warrior, I said slowly. You're a weapon system. Veilcore closed his eyes. Yes. My stomach twisted. They built you to fight. And when you break, they discard you. It is honor, he said. To serve until failure. No, I snapped. It's slavery. His eyes snapped open. No one had ever said that to him before. What I saw next changed everything. Around the 48th hour, station power flickered. The lattice in Veilcore's spine activated. He screamed. Not from pain but from resistance. The control signal was waking him, overriding his injuries, forcing combat reflexes online. The coalition had issued a remote termination command. If they couldn't recover him, they would erase him. I tore open the medical console, rerouting power, sweating as warnings blared. My hands shook as I made a decision that would brand me a traitor. I severed the lattice. The shockwave threw me across the room. When I came to, smoke curled from the console, and Veilcore lay still. Then slowly he moved. He looked at his hands as if seeing them for the first time. I can no longer hear them, he said. The station alarms wailed louder. Security teams were inbound. And for the first time the Karseth warrior smiled. They came for us in force. Coalition Marines. Automated sentries. Orders blared through the bay demanding surrender. Veilcore struggled to sit up. Rage and sorrow warring across his features. I will not be captured. You can't fight, I said. I can still die, he replied. I stood between him and the door. Not today. The Marines hesitated. Because humans are small. But we don't step aside easily. I broadcast everything, the lattice, the abandonment, the kill order, across every open channel on the station. Diplomats froze. Civilians watched. Allies listened. This is who we call honorable, I said into the mic. This is how we treat those who bleed for us. Silence followed. Then something unexpected happened. The Karseth ambassador spoke. And he ordered the Marines to stand down. None of us were prepared for the truth that followed. They were never meant to survive us, the ambassador admitted. Our warriors were engineered to obey. Independence was considered inefficient. The broadcast shattered centuries of myth. Veilcore bowed his head, grief rolling off him in waves. I was loyal, he said. I served. Yes, the ambassador replied. And you paid the price. In the aftermath, coalition law was rewritten. Slowly, reluctantly, but it changed. Veilcore underwent reconstruction using hybrid human Karseth tech. It wasn't perfect. He would never fight the same way again. But he would live. When he stood on unsteady legs weeks later, the station gathered to watch. He turned to me. You broke my chains, he said. Why? I thought of Earth. Of forgotten soldiers. Of pain ignored because it was inconvenient. Because no one should be left behind, I said. Not like that. He placed a massive hand on my shoulder. Then humanity is stronger than we feared. The final report listed me as insubordinate. Veilcore was listed as alive. And sometimes that's enough. Because the day a human helped a crippled alien warrior, the galaxy learned something dangerous. We don't abandon our own. And we decide who that includes.